I want to share with you 6 ways to say maybe in Spanish. Now, in all my experience learning Spanish and sharing the learning of Spanish with others, I have noticed, and even I did myself, that we typically tend to lean on posiblemente and tal vez to do the heavy lifting where it comes into play in the form of maybe. Tal vez is one thing, but posiblemente in particular is also possibly, right? So the problem with posiblemente is that it infers that the actual event is going to take place. It's more likely to take place. I'm reminded of a time ago when I was using posiblemente incorrectly. I wasn't aware that posiblemente inferred that whatever I was talking about was more likely to occur than not. So this native speaker told me, hey, you don't want to use posiblemente, you want to use puede que. Puede que is more formal for the conversation, but it's also more accurate in getting your point across or clarifying your intent. Which brings me to my favorite word, quizás. What a beautiful word, quizás. You'll also hear it used as quizá. But anyways, I'm going to get into my list of usage of the different words that represent maybe and the nuances and or matices. So here we go. So the first two we're going to look at is quizás and tal vez. Quizás and tal vez can be used pretty much interchangeably. They tend to carry the same weight, and they can also be used at the front or rear of your sentence loosely. I'll demonstrate that for you here in a minute. But then there's the third rule, which pretty much applies to all words that infer doubt, or all of our maybe words in this case. And that is the use of the subjunctive verb that follows the maybe. And you'll see that demonstrated as well. For pretty much any use of any of the maybes, look for a subjunctive to follow. There are some exceptions. You'll see that in a minute. For you beginners that don't yet know what the subjunctive is or what that means, there are plenty of videos on YouTube that describe the subjunctive versus the indicative. Okay, let's run through some sample sentences. I'm going to show you where quizás and tal vez can be used interchangeably. First up, we've got quizás llueva mañana. Quizás llueva mañana. Now I can replace that quizás with tal vez and say the exact same thing. Tal vez llueva mañana. Notice that both quizás and tal vez both trigger the subjunctive mood. Llueva, not llueve. Llueva is more appropriate here because there's doubt. There's doubt whether or not it's going to rain tomorrow. It's not a for sure thing. But both of these sentences mean maybe it'll rain tomorrow. So as you can see here by this example, you can use quizás and tal vez pretty much interchangeably to convey the same idea. It really comes down to preference. It comes down to, and or when your Spanish speaker that you're speaking with uses it, what they might have heard more of growing up. So let's move on and show you how to put the same quizás and tal vez. They also work at the end of the sentence. Now let's take a look at the same exact sentences, putting quizás and tal vez at the end. Here's your examples. Llueva mañana quizás, llueva mañana quizás, or llueva mañana tal vez. Both mean it'll rain tomorrow, maybe. And both are used often, and both are grammatically correct. At the front or the rear of the sentence, you're expressing maybe or doubt. Next up, puede que. Puede que has a rule. It must be followed by the subjunctive verb. All right, so let's stay with the weather, right? So puede que. Your sample sentence is puede que llueva más tarde. Puede que llueva más tarde. Maybe it'll rain later. Now, puede que you won't see at the end of a sentence. It's usually found at the beginning or at least before the subjunctive verb in a compound or more complex sentence. So next up, we have a lo mejor and posiblemente. A lo mejor and posiblemente both imply a good chance or likelihood that the situation is going to advance and or occur. Slight difference here though, posiblemente and a lo mejor can both use the subjunctive or the indicative mood, depending on context and emphasis. You'll use the subjunctive mood if there's less or if there's more doubt. You'll use the indicative mood if it's even more likely that the situation will occur. So let's get into some sample sentences here. Let's first look at a lo mejor. Now with a lo mejor, you can use both the indicative conjugation of the verb llover, or you can use the subjunctive, and they have slightly different meanings. If you use a lo mejor llueve mañana, that is more likely, the sense of feeling is that it's more likely to rain tomorrow. If you say a lo mejor llueva mañana, it's a little less likely of a sense that you have as you're conveying your feelings. Both are correct, even though it's important to note that both still give a sense of it's more likely to occur than not. One's just a little bit stronger than the other. Next, let's look at posiblemente. Same thing. Posiblemente also inferring that it's more likely to occur than not. You know, it's possible that it's going to happen, or it's possible that it's going to rain. Our first sentence is, it's in the subjunctive mood, and we're going to say posiblemente llueva mañana. Posiblemente llueva mañana. Now that infers just a slightly less likeliness that you think it's going to rain tomorrow, but you still think it's going to rain. We're going to follow that up with posiblemente llueve mañana. Posiblemente llueve mañana. Now both the indicative and the subjunctive are correct, and they both lean towards the fact that it's more likely than not that whatever it is you're talking about is going to occur. And to be honest, you really probably won't use one or the other at different times. You'll probably pick one and use one. Okay, we're almost done, so let's go to the last sample, and this one's kind of funny. Acaso. Acaso. Acaso typically uses a subjunctive mood, but it's also used in the rhetorical nature. It's normally used in a question, and let me show you. Now forgive my tone because I don't really know the rhetorical tone in Spanish, but I'll give it a shot. ¿Acaso llueva mañana? ¿Acaso llueva mañana? Could it possibly rain tomorrow? Or maybe it'll rain tomorrow? Now there are other ways to form rhetorical questions in Spanish using acaso, and some of them don't require the subjunctive. You can use the indicative, but for the purpose of this video, I think I just wanted to introduce you to the fact that it exists. So hopefully this video inspired you to use more variety when you're describing things and using maybe, especially quizás and pueda que. I think you'll find that you'll use those a lot more once you get to practicing them. So thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope this helped. And I'd like to do more videos like this, but I need some more likes and subscribers. So if you could help me out there, I'd sure greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Ciao.